First contact's last mistake. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the Terran diplomatic vessel Promise of Peace, watching the massive Cervix war fleet materialize against the backdrop of stars. Their ships resembled crystalline structures, each facet gleaming with an internal purple light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Beautiful, but deadly. "They're hailing us," Lieutenant Rodriguez announced from his communication station. "The Supreme Commander wishes to deliver their response to our peace proposal." Chen straightened her formal diplomatic uniform, a simple black ensemble adorned only with Earth's planetary crest. "Put them through." The holographic projection materialized in the center of the bridge. Supreme Commander Vexthor of the Cervix Confederation. Their crystalline exoskeleton caught the light, creating rainbow refractions across the bridge. Multiple compound eyes studied the humans with what Chen had learned to recognize as contempt. "Ambassador Chen." Vexthor's translated voice resonated through the chamber. "We have reviewed your species' petition for peaceful coexistence. We find it lacking." Chen maintained her diplomatic composure, though her stomach tightened. "Supreme Commander, we have demonstrated our willingness to share resources, technology, and cultural exchange. What aspect of our proposal do you find insufficient?" "Your existence." The words fell like ice. "Your species represents an unacceptable variable in our carefully ordered galaxy. Your rapid technological advancement, your unpredictable nature, your creativity." The last word dripped with disgust. "The Confederation has voted. You will surrender your colonies, submit to genetic restructuring, and accept your place as a protectorate species, or face extinction." The bridge crew tensed. Chen took a measured breath. "Supreme Commander, with respect, humanity will not surrender its autonomy or accept genetic modification. We propose further dialogue." "There will be no dialogue." Vexthor's crystalline form seemed to pulse brighter. "You have 48 Earth hours to submit. After that, we will demonstrate the consequence of defiance." The hologram vanished. Chen turned to Captain Morris, whose weathered face had hardened into stone. "Send the message to Earth Command," she ordered quietly. "Code Black. The Cervix Confederation has chosen war." "Message sent," Rodriguez confirmed. "Ambassador, they're moving their fleet into attack positions." "They won't wait 48 hours, Morris growled. "They never intended to." Chen nodded grimly. "No, this was theater. A formality before they execute their plans." She straightened her spine, steel entering her voice. "But they've made a critical error. Mom. They think our creativity is a weakness." A cold smile touched her lips. "They're about to learn it's our greatest strength." The first shots came exactly 6 hours later. The Cervix fleet opened fire without warning, their crystalline ships unleashing streams of purple energy that cut through space like lightning. The Promise of Peace, despite its name, was not defenseless. Its shields flared to life, absorbing the initial barrage as Captain Morris barked orders. "Emergency jump protocols. Get us out of here." But the Cervix had planned well. Gravitational disruptors activated, creating a web of distorted space that trapped the human vessel. Chen watched as more enemy ships emerged from fold space, their crystalline forms blocking out the stars. "They're jamming our communications," Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across his console. "Can't get a signal through to Earth Command." "They don't realize we don't need to," Chen said softly. When the crew looked at her questioningly, she continued. "Standard protocol. If a diplomatic mission goes dark for more than 4 hours, Earth assumes hostile action. They're already mobilizing." The bridge shuddered as another barrage struck their shields. Captain Morris's tactical display showed shield strength dropping rapidly. "That won't help us right now, Ambassador." "No," Chen agreed. "But it means we don't have to survive. We just have to make this cost them." Understanding dawned in Morris's eyes. He nodded sharply and opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, this is the captain. Initiate Protocol Omega. I repeat, Protocol Omega is now in effect." Throughout the ship, crew members began their final tasks with grim determination. In engineering, antimatter containment safeties were systematically disabled. In the computer core, viral packages were prepared for upload into any system that tried to establish a connection. "They're launching boarding craft," Tactical reported. "Multiple vectors." "Perfect," Chen whispered. "Let them come." The cervix warriors that breached the hull found eerily empty corridors. No resistance, no fleeing crew members, just darkness and silence. Their crystalline forms cast prismatic patterns on the walls as they advanced cautiously toward the bridge. In the final moments, as Vexthor's forces reached the bridge doors, Chen activated her neural implant's recording function. Her last message would reach Earth eventually, carried by quantum-entangled particles that the cervix couldn't detect or stop. To Earth Command, the Cervix Confederation has initiated hostile action against humanity. They believe our creativity and adaptability make us weak. Their mistake. The data package accompanying this message contains everything we learned about their technology, biology, and tactics during our diplomatic mission. Use it well. And remember, they struck first, but humanity will strike last. The bridge doors burst open. Chen stood calmly as crystalline warriors poured in, their weapons trained on the bridge crew. Behind them strode Vexthor, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. "Your species' defiance ends here," the Supreme Commander declared. Chen smiled. "No, Supreme Commander. This is where it begins." She pressed a final control, and the promise of peace lived up to its name one last time, bringing peace through sacrifice as its antimatter core detonated. The explosion vaporized the diplomatic vessel, the boarding parties, and 3 Cervix capital ships within its blast radius. The war had begun, and humanity's response would teach the galaxy why you should never mistake diplomatic restraint for weakness or creativity for vulnerability. In the hours that followed, as news of the promise of peace's destruction reached Earth, the response was swift and terrible. Humanity had spent generations preparing for the possibility of hostile contact. Now those preparations would show the Cervix Confederation exactly why they should have accepted that peace proposal. They had declared war on humanity. Their first mistake. Their last mistake. The silent strike. Commander Maya Patel stood in the shadows of her stealth vessel's command center, watching the holographic display of the Cervix supply depot. The massive crystalline structure floated in high orbit around a gas giant, its purple-tinted facets refracting the planet's pale light. 6 weeks had passed since the destruction of the promise of peace, and humanity had been far from idle. Stealth systems holding steady, Lieutenant Walsh reported from his station, voice barely above a whisper despite the fact that sound couldn't travel in space. "Old habits died hard when you were hunting. No indication they've detected us." Maya nodded, her dark eyes never leaving the display. The Cervix believed their sensor networks were impenetrable, their crystalline technology superior to anything humans could develop. They hadn't counted on humanity's centuries of creating entertainment about hiding from superior alien forces. Sometimes fiction had a way of becoming reality. "Status of the package?" she asked. "Ready for deployment," Chief Engineer Santos replied. "The nanites are primed and programmed. Once they're inside that facility's crystalline matrix, they'll replicate and spread through their entire network. Within hours, their command and control systems will be compromised." It had taken the combined efforts of Earth's best scientists to develop these microscopic saboteurs. The Cervix's crystalline technology was advanced, but it had one critical weakness. It was essentially a massive, interconnected lattice. Perfect for transmission of energy and data. Perfect for spreading a virus. Team 2, status. Maya checked with the infiltration squad. "In position," came the whispered reply from Captain Chen, Sarah Chen's younger brother, who had specifically requested this assignment. "Ready to breach on your mark." Maya took a deep breath. This mission represented humanity's first major counterstrike. While the Cervix had been pushing their offensive, destroying outer colonies and demanding Earth's surrender, They hadn't realized they were being studied. Every battle, every transmission, every piece of debris. Humans gathered data, adapted, and planned. "Begin Operation Shattered Glass," Maya ordered. "All teams, execute." The infiltration team's vessel, even smaller than Maya's command ship, detached from its hiding place behind a chunk of orbital debris. Its hull was coated with metamaterials that absorbed or deflected scanning beams, another innovation born from decades of science fiction becoming science fact. Chen's team approached the depot's maintenance airlock, their suits designed to mimic the crystalline signature of Cervix technology. As they worked, Maya's ship maintained position, ready to provide emergency extraction or a very loud distraction if needed. "Airlock bypassed," Chen reported. "We're in. Beginning Phase 2. Maya watched through the team's helmet feeds as they moved through the depot's crystalline corridors. The interior was a maze of geometric patterns, all angles and facets. Cervix workers moved about their tasks, their own crystalline forms blending with the architecture. "Remember," Maya transmitted quietly, "minimal engagement. We're ghosts, not warriors. Not today." The team acknowledged as they made their way to the central processing node. This was where the facility's crystalline matrix was most vulnerable, where the nanite package would have the greatest effect. "Contact," Chen whispered suddenly. 2 guards approaching. Maya tensed, but the team had trained for this. They pressed themselves into recesses in the crystalline walls, their adapted suits refracting light around them. The Cervix guards passed within inches, their compound eyes sweeping the corridor, but finding nothing unusual. "Central node ahead," Chen reported once the guards had moved on. "Beginning final approach." The node chamber was massive, a cathedral-like space filled with pulsing crystalline columns. Energy and data flowed through them in visible streams of purple light, controlling not just this facility but linking to others across the sector. Package placement in 3, 2, 1. The nanite container, disguised as a routine maintenance module, was secured to the base of the primary column. Within seconds, microscopic machines began seeping into the crystalline structure, ready to multiply and spread throughout the Cervix network. "Package delivered," Chen confirmed. "Beginning extraction." Maya allowed herself a small smile. The Cervix would never see this coming. They had dismissed human technology as primitive, refusing to believe that a species so young could pose a real threat. They were about to learn otherwise. The team made their way back through the facility, moving as silently as they had entered. Each step was calculated, each movement precise. This wasn't just about planting the nanites, it was about proving that humanity could strike anywhere, at any time. "Approaching exit point," Chen reported. "No complications." That's when the facility's lights pulsed red. "Multiple ships dropping out of fold space," Walsh reported, tension in his voice. "Cervix patrol fleet. Standard resupply schedule. They're not reacting to us." Maya's mind raced through contingencies. The patrol fleet's arrival wasn't in their intelligence reports. If they initiated their standard docking protocols, they'd discover the infiltration team. "Team 2, hold position," she ordered. "Lieutenant Walsh, prepare countermeasures. Santos, I need options." The engineer's fingers flew across his console. "The nanites, they're already in the system. We could trigger them early, use the chaos as cover." Maya weighed the choices. Early activation would mean less overall damage to the Cervix network, but the alternative was losing the entire team. "Do it," she commanded. "Chen, prepare to move on my mark." Santos transmitted the activation signal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a wave of darkness, the purple light flowing through the facility's crystalline structures began to flicker and die. Alarms blared as systems failed across the depot. The approaching patrol ships suddenly lost guidance data, their formations breaking as they tried to compensate. Inside, Cervix workers rushed to restore control, their own crystalline forms resonating with distress. "Move," Maya ordered. "All teams, fall back to extraction points." Chen's team sprinted through the darkened corridors, no longer concerned with stealth. In the chaos of the system failure, they were just more shapes running through the facility. They reached the airlock just as emergency containment protocols began activating. Team 2 is clear, Chen reported as their ship detached from the depot. Beginning evasion pattern Delta. Maya watched as both small ships slipped away from the facility, using the confusion of the patrol fleet as cover. Behind them, the nanite infection spread through the depot's systems, corrupting data, disrupting communications, and planting false information that would ripple through the entire cervix network. Hours later, safely hidden in the shadow of a rogue asteroid, Maya recorded her mission report for Earth Command. Operation Shattered Glass successful. Infiltration achieved, package delivered, and all teams extracted safely. Primary objective accomplished. The cervix supply and communication network will be compromised within days. Secondary objective exceeded expectations. We have proved that their security can be breached, their technology can be corrupted, and their assumptions about human capabilities are fatally flawed. She paused, allowing herself a moment of grim satisfaction before continuing. They thought their crystalline technology made them invulnerable. They were wrong. They thought their superiority was absolute. They were wrong. Most importantly, they thought they could predict human behavior based on their standard tactical models. They were wrong about that too. This is just the beginning. Humanity isn't just fighting back. We're rewriting the rules of engagement. And the Cervix Confederation is about to learn that their greatest mistake wasn't starting this war. It was assuming they knew how we would fight it. Turning the tide. General David Okafor stood before the holographic war table in Earth Command's underground bunker, watching as red indicators representing Cervix forces flickered and vanished across the strategic display. 3 months had passed since Operation Shattered Glass, and the nanite infection had done far more damage than even its creators had hoped. Latest intelligence confirms total disruption of their supply lines in 4 sectors. Colonel Jessica Harper reported, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic glow. Their ships are operating blind, relying on short-range communications only. The crystalline network they depended on has become their greatest vulnerability. And the new defense systems? Okafor asked, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. Harper's lips curved into a slight smile. Ready for deployment. Dr. Zhao's team reversed engineered their energy weapons. But instead of copying them, they found a way to turn the crystalline technology against itself. The general nodded. When the war began, humanity had seemed hopelessly outgunned. The Cervix's energy weapons could slice through traditional armor like paper, but humans had centuries of experience turning enemy strengths into weaknesses. "Show me," he commanded. Harper gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show Earth's orbital defense platforms. They looked deceptively simple, none of the ornate crystalline architecture the Cervix favored. Just functional human engineering with one crucial addition. The platforms are equipped with crystalline refraction arrays, Harper explained. When their energy weapons hit our shields, instead of trying to absorb or deflect the blast, we catch it, redirect it, and send it right back at them. Like a mirror, Okafor mused. A very angry mirror, sir. The general allowed himself a small smile. Status of the Cervix fleet. They're massing in the Arcturus sector. Intelligence suggests they're planning a major push toward Earth. They think if they can strike our homeworld directly, we'll surrender. Harper's tone made it clear what she thought of that assumption. They still don't understand us, Okafor said quietly. They see our adaptability as desperation, our creativity as chaos. He straightened, decision made. It's time to show them exactly what humanity is capable of. Initiate Operation Checkmate. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity as Earth's forces mobilized. The plan was audacious, relying on everything they'd learned about Cervix tactics and psychology. The enemy believed they had humanity on the defensive, falling back toward Earth. They had no idea they were walking into a trap 3 months in the making. The Cervix fleet arrived exactly where intelligence predicted, their crystalline ships emerging from fold space in an overwhelming display of force. Over 300 vessels, their purple energy signatures pulsing with deadly purpose. Supreme Commander Vexthor, who had survived the promise of peace incident, stood on his flagship's bridge, mandibles clicking in anticipation. The human forces appeared to be in disarray, scattered and vulnerable. Victory seemed assured. "Begin the attack," Vexthor ordered. "Show these primitives the price of defiance." The Cervix fleet surged forward, energy weapons charging. They expected the humans to either flee or mount a desperate defense. Instead, they got something entirely different. Now, General Okafor commanded from his position on the Earth Defense Command carrier, humanity's answer. The scattered human ships suddenly moved with perfect coordination, forming a complex three-dimensional pattern that made no sense to Cervix tactical computers. As the enemy fired their first salvos, the human formation shifted, each vessel's crystalline refraction array activating in sequence. The results were devastating. Energy beams meant to destroy human ships instead bounced from array to array, gaining power with each reflection, before slicing back through the Cervix fleet. Ships that should have been untouchable saw their own weapons cut through their crystalline hulls. But that was just the beginning. Phase 2, Okafor ordered. Release the drones. Thousands of small, automated craft emerged from hidden positions in the debris field. Each was equipped with a miniaturized version of the nanite package that had corrupted the Cervix network. They swarmed toward the enemy fleet, too numerous to stop. Impossible. Vexthor raged as reports of system failures cascaded across his command displays. Their technology is inferior. Their tactics are chaos. "Sir," his second-in-command reported, mandibles trembling, "we're detecting anomalies in our crystalline matrix. The humans, they've weaponized our own technology against us." The battle descended into chaos, but it was chaos by design. Every human ship knew its role, every drone followed its programming, and every reflection array turned enemy fire back upon itself. The Cervix fleet, unable to coordinate effectively through their corrupted network, found their superior numbers becoming a liability as ships crashed into each other trying to evade their own reflected weapons. Message from the enemy flagship. Harper reported to Okafor. "They're requesting terms." The general studied the tactical display, watching as humanity's carefully orchestrated trap closed around the most powerful fleet the Cervix had ever assembled. "Put them through." Vexthor's hologram appeared, his crystalline form showing visible signs of stress fractures. "General Okafor, you planned this. All of it. The retreats, the scattered defense, the apparent vulnerabilities." "We did," Okafor confirmed. "You thought you understood warfare, Supreme Commander, but you only understood one kind of warfare, the direct, predictable kind. Humanity has been practicing the art of asymmetric warfare against ourselves for millennia. We don't need to match your firepower. We just need to make it work for us instead of you. The terms of our surrender are simple," Okafor interrupted. "Withdraw from human space, release our colonies, and understand this. We could destroy your fleet right now. Every ship, every warrior. But we're offering you the chance to leave, to tell your confederation what you've learned here. That humanity isn't just another species to be conquered. We're something you've never encountered before." The Supreme Commander's compound eyes studied Okafor for a long moment. "You've changed the rules of warfare." "No," the general corrected. "We showed you that your rules were too limited. That's the difference between us, Supreme Commander. You see rules as fixed, absolute. We see them as challenges to overcome, problems to solve. You thought our creativity was a weakness. Now you understand. It's the source of our strength." As the Cervix fleet retreated, their once proud ships limping back into fold space, Colonel Harper approached Okafor's command station. "They'll be back, sir. The Confederation won't accept this defeat easily." "No," Okafor agreed, "but they'll come back smarter, more cautious, and maybe, just maybe, with a better understanding of why you should never underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation. He turned to face her, his expression grave but satisfied. "Send word to Earth Command. Operation Checkmate is complete, and the real war is just beginning." The alliance shifts. Ambassador Marcus Wong sat in the dimly lit chamber of the Galactic Conclave, watching the crystalline forms of the Cervix delegation as they presented their case. 5 months had passed since the Battle of Arcturus, and the political landscape of the galaxy was shifting like sand in a storm. The humans represent an unprecedented threat, the Cervix representative insisted, their crystalline form reflecting the chamber's lights in agitated patterns. Their unpredictable tactics, their willingness to corrupt established technologies, they must be contained before they destabilize the entire sector. Wang remained silent, observing the reactions of the other species representatives. The Volari, with their liquid metal bodies, rippled with interest. The plant-like Exarith swayed thoughtfully. Most intriguing were the Mizari, whose synthetic minds had previously aligned closely with Cervix ideology. "We have reviewed the battle data," the Mizari representative stated, their artificial voice perfectly modulated. The humans did not violate any established conventions of warfare. They simply reinterpreted them. Reinterpretation is destruction. The Cervix delegates' mandibles clicked in agitation. They turned our own technology against us. Perhaps the Volari representative's liquid metal form shifted, forming patterns that indicated amusement. That is precisely why we should be talking with them, not against them. Wang finally stood, his simple black uniform a stark contrast to the ornate attire of the other representatives. "Members of the Conclave, I understand the Cervix Confederation's concerns. Change is often frightening, especially when it challenges long-held assumptions about how things should work." He gestured to the holographic display showing the Battle of Arcturus. But look at what actually happened. When faced with a technologically superior force, we didn't resort to wholesale destruction. We found a way to end the battle while minimizing casualties on both sides. We offered mercy when we could have chosen vengeance. "A clever deception," the Cervix representative interrupted. "To make yourselves appear benevolent while seeding your corrupt technologies throughout our systems. Is it corruption to find new applications for existing technology?" The Mizari representative questioned. "Our analysis suggests the humans have discovered principles of crystalline manipulation that we ourselves overlooked. Principles that could advance all our civilizations." The chamber erupted in discussion, various species representatives talking over each other. Wang noticed that Exareth representatives' leaves trembling in what he had learned was their equivalent of thoughtful consideration. The Exareth have observed, their melodic voice cut through the chaos, that human creativity follows patterns similar to evolutionary adaptation. They do not merely copy or destroy, they innovate. They find new paths where others see only walls. "Precisely," Wang agreed. "Humanity doesn't want to destabilize the galaxy. We want to contribute to it. Yes, we think differently. Yes, we solve problems in unexpected ways. But isn't that exactly what a healthy galactic community needs? Different perspectives, different approaches." The Mizari's synthetic eyes focused on Wang. "You offer cooperation, then. Access to your innovations. With appropriate safeguards and mutual benefits, yes." Wang smiled. "We're not interested in domination or control. We're interested in growth, for all species." Absurd. The Cervix representative's crystalline form pulsed with anger. "You cannot trust them. They defended themselves when attacked." The Volari representative interrupted, their liquid metal form rippling with decisive patterns. "They showed restraint in victory, and now they offer cooperation instead of demanding reparations." The Volari turned to face the Cervix delegation. "Perhaps the real question is not whether we can trust humans, but whether we can trust those who would deny us the benefits of collaboration out of fear and pride." The chamber fell silent. Wang could feel the shift in the atmosphere, the subtle changes in posture and expression that indicated minds were changing. The cervix delegation's crystalline forms showed stress patterns that hadn't been there before. The Mizari propose, their representative announced, a joint technological exchange initiative with the humans, focusing on crystalline matrix innovations and adaptive programming. The Exareth support this proposal, their representative added, leaves shimmering with excitement. We also suggest including biological adaptation studies. The Volari concur, their representative's liquid metal form shaped itself into the formal patterns of agreement, and we offer our metamaterial expertise to the exchange. Wang bowed slightly to each representative. Humanity would be honored to participate in such an exchange. We believe that together, we can achieve things none of us could manage alone. The cervix delegation sat in rigid silence as more species came forward to support the initiative. Their influence, once absolute in technological matters, was crumbling before their compound eyes. Later, in the privacy of his office, Wang composed his report to Earth Command. The political situation has shifted dramatically. The Cervix Confederation's attempt to isolate us has instead resulted in unprecedented interest in human innovation. Multiple species have approached us for bilateral agreements, and the Technology Exchange Initiative has widespread support. He paused, considering his next words carefully. Most significantly, our handling of the Arcturus engagement has changed how we're perceived. We're no longer seen as just an upstart species that got lucky. They're beginning to understand that human creativity isn't a threat to stability. It's a catalyst for progress. The Cervix Confederation faces a choice: adapt to the new reality or risk becoming obsolete. Their crystalline technology, once the standard by which all others were judged, is now seen as ripe for innovation and improvement. Their political influence wanes with each new alliance we forge. In trying to contain us, they have instead released us. In attempting to isolate us, they have made us central to the galaxy's future. The war isn't over. The cervix are wounded but not defeated. But the nature of the conflict has changed. It's no longer about survival. It's about shaping the future of galactic civilization. And humanity, it seems, has a great deal to contribute to that future. Victory has many forms. The crystalline spires of the cervix homeworld glittered beneath twin suns, their purple-tinted surfaces reflecting the light in mesmerizing patterns. Admiral Maya Patel, now commander of the human flagship Innovation, stood on her bridge watching the planet's defense grid power down section by section. 8 months had passed since the Galactic conclave, and everything had changed. Last of the hardline faction's ships are standing down, reported Captain Chen, his tactical display showing the remaining cervix vessels powering down their weapons. The moderate faction has full control of the orbital platforms. Maya nodded, remembering how differently this confrontation could have ended. The Cervix Confederation had split after their political isolation, with younger members pushing for reform while the old guard clung to their beliefs in superiority and control. Admiral, her communications officer called out, incoming transmission from the surface. It's Supreme Commander Vex Thor. Maya straightened her uniform. Put it through. The hologram materialized, showing a very different Vex Thor than the one who had once threatened Earth with extinction. His crystalline form showed signs of modification. Sections deliberately altered to incorporate other species' technological advances, including human innovations. Admiral Patel, he greeted her, his translator conveying a complex mix of emotions. The transition is complete. The hardliners have surrendered. Casualties: minimal. Your suggestion to target their communication networks rather than their weapons proved effective. There was a note of reluctant admiration in his voice. They couldn't coordinate resistance once their crystalline matrix was compromised. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes the best victory is the one that costs the least lives. Supreme Commander, a concept that has taken us too long to learn. Vex Thor's compound eyes studied her. The moderate council awaits your arrival for the signing ceremony. Though I confess, I never imagined I would be inviting humans to our homeworld as allies rather than conquerors. That's the difference you never understood about us. Supreme Commander, we don't want to conquer. We want to connect, to grow, to innovate, together. The ceremony took place in the Grand Chamber of Crystal, the heart of Cervix governance for millennia. Representatives from across the galaxy attended, Volari diplomats flowing like quicksilver, Xereth delegates swaying gently, Mizari observers recording every detail with their synthetic senses. The human delegation, led by Ambassador Wong, stood with quiet confidence as the new Cervix Council presented the terms of alliance. The agreement wasn't just a peace treaty, it was a framework for transformation. The Cervix Confederation. The council leader announced, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns of formal ceremony, hereby commits to full participation in the Galactic Technology Exchange Initiative. Our crystalline matrices will be open to collaborative research and development. In return, we seek to learn from humanity's adaptive approaches and creative methodologies. Wong stepped forward to sign, his simple stylus a stark contrast to the ornate crystalline instruments of the Cervix. Earth and her colonies commit to sharing our innovations and protecting the exchange of knowledge between all participating species. We seek not to dominate, but to elevate everyone. As the signatures were recorded, Maya noticed Vexthor watching from a corner of the chamber. She made her way over to him. Having second thoughts, Supreme Commander. Reflecting, he corrected. When we first encountered your species, we saw your creativity as chaos, your adaptability as a threat. We thought we needed to contain you to preserve order. His crystalline form shifted, expressing what Maya had learned to recognize as rueful amusement. Instead, you showed us that true order comes from embracing change, not fighting it. It's what humans do best, Maya replied. We take what exists and imagine what could be. Then we find ways to bridge the gap between the two. Yes, Vexthor agreed. And now the galaxy will never be the same. He turned to face her fully. You know, some of my people still fear this change. They worry that opening ourselves to new ideas will destroy what we are. Change doesn't destroy who you are, Maya said softly. It reveals who you can become. The ceremony concluded with a demonstration that would have been unthinkable months ago. Human engineers, working alongside Cervix crystal shapers, activated a new kind of matrix, one that combined crystalline technology with human innovation, Volari fluid dynamics, Hexerith organic principles, and Nizari computational processes. The result was beautiful, a shifting, flowing crystal structure that adapted and evolved in response to its environment. It was neither purely Cervix nor human, nor any other single-species creation. It was something entirely new. Later, as the innovation prepared to depart, Maya recorded her final report on the conflict. The war that began with a demand for humanity's surrender has ended with something far more powerful than victory. We've helped forge a new kind of galactic society, one that values diversity of thought and approach, that sees different perspectives as strengths rather than threats. The Cervix Confederation, our once bitter enemy, is now leading the charge in collaborative innovation. Their crystalline technology, combined with human creativity and contributions from other species, is opening doors we never imagined existed. They thought they were declaring war on humanity. Instead, they accidentally triggered a revolution in how species interact and grow together. Sometimes, the greatest victories don't come from defeating an enemy, but from transforming them into allies. This isn't the end of our story. In many ways, it's just the beginning. Humanity has found its place in the galaxy not through conquest or submission, but by being exactly what we are, adaptable, creative, and always ready to imagine new possibilities. They declared war on humanity, and in doing so, they gave us the opportunity to show the galaxy a better way forward. That's not just a victory for Earth, it's a victory for everyone. As the innovation engaged its engines, the crystalline spires of the Cervix homeworld sparkled behind them, no longer symbols of rigid superiority, but beacons of a new age of collaboration and growth. an age that began because someone made the mistake of underestimating humanity's greatest strength, the power to imagine a better way.